Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Today, we have one more set of great stories for you to enjoy. But before we start, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. And our first story. Berate me in front of my principal for not communicating with you about your child's grades? Enjoy embarrassing yourself? So, flashback to my first year of teaching. I was a 21-year-old middle school teacher, fresh out of college and extremely green. I was admittedly shaky when it came to parent communication. It's quite intimidating to speak to a parent as an equal when you're less than 10 years older than their children. Many of them were old enough to be my parent, which made things awkward for me. Enter Mom. Her daughter Diva did absolutely nothing in my class except stir up drama, be extremely rude and obnoxious, and generally anything but do her work. Now, student grades are easily accessible at all times through an online parent portal, so I've always been of the opinion that parents should never be surprised by grades at the end of the quarter. So the end of the second quarter is drawing to an end, and I get an abrasive email from Mom demanding a parent-teacher conference with an administrator present. Of course, teachers are instructed to meet with a parent anytime they want a conference. One of my assistant principals sat in on the meeting. From the moment Mom sat across from me, I knew where Diva got her attitude. Mom was belligerent, accusing, and rude. She began to angrily accuse me of causing her daughter to fail. Somehow my fault. Basically, I should have done everything under the sun to make sure she didn't fail. I should have contacted her earlier, and I should have sent home extra copies. I should have been checking Diva's agenda, etc. While I admitted I should have called her earlier, her chewing me out in front of my boss was the most embarrassing moment of my career. My assistant principal worked out a compromise that went like this. Since Mom didn't want a lot of phone calls, apparently a busy person, it was agreed that I would write a note to Mom in Diva's agenda every Friday about her grade and her missing work. Embarrassed and chastised, I could barely look my boss in the eye. I resolved that I would comply to the fullest, so much so that it would be annoying. I would be above reproach so that she could never berate me like that again. However, I never could have imagined the incredible events that followed. In the weeks that followed, I not only wrote in Diva's agenda, but I printed off lists of her missing assignments, progress reports, and letters home, and stapled them to her agenda. I did this every week without fail, and Diva's behavior did not change. By the end of the third quarter, she was missing 8 assignments and was failing my class yet again. Lo and behold, I get an email from Mom demanding a parent-teacher conference with a principal present. She arrives and starts in on me again about how I'm unprofessional and how I'm not supporting her daughter and how I had yet again failed to notify her that her daughter was failing. Then the realization struck me. She had never looked at the agenda. I painstakingly stapled progress reports, letters, and missing work into her agenda for nearly 3 months, and she never once checked. A grin broke across my face. Me. Can we look at Diva's agenda? There's something I think you should see. Mom leaves the room and comes back with Diva's agenda. I begin to flip through the agenda, showing her every single page that I wrote on or stapled. Now, if you'll notice, I've written in Diva's agenda and stapled progress reports, letters to you, and lists of missing work into her agenda every single week since we last spoke, as per our agreement. Are you telling me that you didn't check her agenda once? The blood drains from Mom's face as she realizes her credibility with my principal is now gone. At this point in the quarter, I say, it's too late for your child to turn in makeup work. Please be sure to check your child's agenda every Friday for an update concerning her progress. In order for your child to be successful, you need to be involved. Do you have any questions? Mom stammered with excuses and apologies for not checking. By this point, I could tell that my principal was stifling laughter, so I knew that I'd won. Mom left very quickly, and I never received one of those harsh emails again. Diva's behavior didn't improve at all, but I rode the satisfaction of that W all the way through to summer. And our second story. If you don't like it, then leave. Don't mind if I do. Don't mind if we all do. I worked as a housekeeper at a small local hotel. At the beginning, when I started about 3 years ago, things were pretty peachy. I got above minimum wage and worked in an environment with a more relaxed working pace. We had more time than your average hotel to clean rooms, and it showed in customer satisfaction. We had stellar reviews, with customers raving about how there wasn't a speck of dust anywhere, how everything from the lampshades to the bathroom drain was always scrubbed squeaky clean. I love my job, and I took pride in it. And when we had extra time, which did happen from time to time, we'd do some deeper cleaning, like scrubbing all the walls inch by inch, disinfecting the whole bathroom, cleaning the blinds, etc. Even though we all had some extra time, we used it to make sure the rooms were always up to a very high standard. As a result of this, we got a reputation of being an affordable but very clean hotel. So our popularity spiked. Even before we got popular, in our prime we were booked full about 90% of the days. Our boss made a pretty nice amount of money. We don't have reception, we're self-service. You just get a passcode for your room via text message, so he saved money with that. He drives an expensive car and seems very well off. We were never struggling financially. Then things started changing. We're a very close-knit team of cleaners and have been in the house for years. A couple of us left at the end of last year, one moved to another state, another became a housewife after having a kid, and we started expecting newcomers to our team. They never came. Our boss claimed that it's hard to find workers for this kind of job. We never had anyone interviewed, and I never saw ads anywhere that we were hiring, so I'm not sure he was even planning on replacing them. So our work pace got tighter. We managed somehow, but there was no longer time for thorough cleaning. Then the boss opened a restaurant so that the guests could have breakfast. Cleaning it daily got added to our workload, and that place is massive. It takes an hour and a half to clean daily. At the same time, he also opened a separate Airbnb-style apartment, 3 bedrooms, kitchen, living room, and bathroom for larger groups who wanted to reside together. Cleaning that fell on us as well. So suddenly, we were down to 2 people. There were 7 of us initially and shoved 2 massive new responsibilities. We asked our boss again to hire more people, but he said no, and that we've been having it too easy beforehand. He also refused to add another hour or 2 to our daily working hours, currently 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. We have 6 hours, and everything needs to be done at 3 p.m. sharp because that's when the new passcodes start working. Understandably, we were stressed out. There was suddenly far too much to do, and our boss also simultaneously expected that we would keep up our usual cleaning standard. But when our time per room plummets from 45 minutes to 25 minutes tops, usually closer to 15, obviously we were not able to clean everything the way we did before. We'd get yelled at when we got bad feedback because there wasn't enough time to clean thoroughly enough. Customers who came in after our clean rooms were disappointed and took their business elsewhere. Also, my coworkers started calling in sick because they were burnt out. It was a mess, but our boss maintained the outlook that if he just pushed a massive amount of work on us, we'd somehow magically find an extra pair of hands and get everything done 100%. Last week, we had a meeting with my coworkers. We discussed the current situation, and to my surprise, everyone was considering quitting. Out of loyalty to our longtime employer, the 5 of us agreed to have a meeting with our boss and try to persuade him to hire more staff to bring the hotel back to its earlier standard. A couple of days later, we had the said meeting. Our boss was still in denial and said that we just need to up our pace and do things faster. He cited that most hotels give housekeepers about 20 minutes to do everything. We pointed out that it's true, but in that case, he can't expect us to clean better than those hotels. He scoffed and told us, "If you don't like working here, then leave." That was all we needed to hear. That night, we had another meeting amongst us cleaners. We checked our contracts and realized there was no agreed-on notice for resignation as we're at will. So we were all going to take his advice. This morning at 9 a.m. sharp, the 5 of us paid our boss a visit. The look on his face when we simultaneously slammed down our resignation letters and marched out, leaving no one to clean the whole hotel today, will warm my heart for the rest of my days. He was absolutely stunned. He tried to call us to talk things over. Nuh-uh. We just did what you told us to. Have fun replacing what was a motivated, loyal, and dedicated team of cleaners who made your business boom. And our last story. How to cut onions like an engineer. Back when I was in college, I worked at a very popular Chinese restaurant. They often put me at a cashier role, but decided I was better suited for a prep role for some reason or another. Let me start off by saying the manager absolutely hated me. He was a big dude with zero common sense, probably my bias, and just liked to boss people around. On the day in question, he had me cutting tri-cut onions, which had to be measured perfectly. They had to be like 3 centimeters thick. As a studying engineer, once I had an eye for how big they needed to be, I was able to cut without measuring each one. Well, my boss didn't like that. After about 30 minutes of cutting, he came back to see how I was doing and noticed I wasn't measuring each one. He threw a massive fit and told me I needed to measure them. I quickly explained I could estimate really easily the size, and it was more efficient for me not to measure. He told me that wasn't possible, so I challenged him to a race. Cut 3 onions, and each cut had to be perfect. He agreed, and I of course beat him, since it took him an extra 5 seconds to measure each cut. Upon my victory, he pulls me into the back hallway to yell at me, saying that it doesn't matter if I'm faster, it's not good enough. It has to be done his way, or I won't be there much longer. Being an engineer, I have a whole slew of measuring devices, calipers, micrometers, rulers, you name it, so I brought all those into work the next week on Onion Day. I'm dead-ass sitting there cutting the onions and measuring each individual one with a new tool. One with a ruler, the next with my calipers, the next with a micrometer, so on and so forth until my manager comes back. "What the hell are you doing? You don't need to do that," he yells at me the moment he sees what I'm doing. "You told me to measure each cut. I wanted to be meticulous and make sure not to make a single mistake after you yelled at me last week." In a huff, he walks away to catch his breath and calls me into the hall later on. "Look, I don't care how you cut them anymore. Just make sure they're correct." So I gave him a thumbs up and went back to cutting the onions like a normal person. And don't worry, I made sure all my random measurement tools were clean and sanitary before using them. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.